judge who thinks he's funny says you pay 6 to her. He says, now judge, suppose I fail. The judge says, budge right into jail. You'd better keep.
Good morning. My name is Susan Reardon. I'm the staff hearing officer, and I call the meeting of Wednesday, September 30th to order. Today we have 2 items on our agenda, and I haven't received any requests for continuances or withdrawals, so we'll hear them in the order that they appear on the agenda. Under announcements and appeals, I've had no announcements, and I don't have any appeals. So is there anyone in the audience who would like to address items not on today's agenda? No, seeing no one, we'll go to the first item, which is 113 La Plata Drive. Anytime you're ready, Kelly.
Good morning. Kelly Bronison, Assistant Planner with Community Development. The project I'm presenting today is 113 La Plata, which is located on the Mesa. The 5,553 square foot.
Open the inside here. Open this and then push this button.
Okay.
And make sure it's not on. It is on mute.
Okay. All right. Good morning. Kelly Brodison, Assistant Planner with Community Development. The project I'm presenting today is located on the Mesa at 113 La Plata. The 5,553 square foot site is developed with a 1,000 square foot single family residence and an attached garage. 1-car garage, 200 square feet, and it's in the non-appealable jurisdiction of the coastal zone. And the project involves demolishing the existing house and rebuilding a new 2,000 square foot 2-story residence and a new 1-car garage. The new project will be approximately 85% of the maximum FAR. The applications that we're looking at today, or the requests, are a parking mod to allow 1 covered space and 1 uncovered space versus 2 covered spaces, and also to allow 1 uncovered space to encroach 3 feet into the required 6-foot setback over on this side of the house. The proposal consists of providing 1 covered space within a garage. Here's the garage, and here's the uncovered space, and 1 space to encroach 3 feet into the setback. Normally, the parking requirements for a single-family house are 2 covered parking spaces. However, Parking Ordinance 2890 allows for an exception to this requirement, stating that any house that is less than 85% of the FAR may provide 1 parking spot covered and 1 parking spot uncovered, as long as it meets certain requirements. And in this case, this project meets all the requirements. However, the 1 uncovered parking spot is located within the front yard. So the applicant is asking, as I said, for a parking mod to allow 1 space to be uncovered. Because of the layout of the house and the way the front yard is defined, that the proposed uncovered space is located within the front yard. And you can see here I've shown that the applicant is complying with the 20-foot front setback, this yellow line here. And then I've shown how, per our ordinance, we define front yard by showing this hatching here. So even though this space back here doesn't really look or act as front yard, by the definition of the ordinance, this is still considered front yard. So it's a modification is required to allow this uncovered space, to allow 1 covered space and 1 uncovered space in the front yard. So there's currently 1-car garage on site, and this proposal provides for an additional off-site parking spot. And the applicant is proposing to screen this uncovered parking space with landscaping, which will be made a condition of approval. The other modification that this application is requesting is an interior setback mod. So again, because the parking does not meet the exception of not being in the front yard setback, it technically needs a mod to also encroach into the 3-foot setback. So let's see. Again, projects that are less than 85% of the maximum FAR allow for that space to encroach up to 3 feet into the required interior setback if there's a landscape buffer provided between the uncovered space and the adjacent interior line. The uncovered space is provided within the front yard, so therefore does not qualify for this reduced setback. However, staff is supportive of this modification because it provides an additional off-street parking space on a lot that currently only has 1 space. Additionally, the lot is very small. It's 5,500 square feet, and it's very narrow at 45 feet wide, making it difficult to comply with this requirement. Design Review has reviewed this project and was generally supportive of the overall architectural style, and they did request the designer to return and restudy the plate heights to be 9 feet for the first story and 8 feet for the second story. And they also had some requests regarding alternative material for the railing on the front roof deck. And the board was supportive of the modifications, finding that they were aesthetically appropriate for the neighborhood and consistent with the single-family design guidelines. So this project will return to Design Review for further refinement and working out the details. So staff recommends that the staff hearing officer approve the 2 parking modifications and making the findings in the staff hearing officer staff report. And also there is a condition that the uncovered parking space shall be screened with landscaping here in the front that would maintain a site visibility at the driveway and the neighbor's views. The proposed landscaping will be located within the 10 by 10 site visibility triangle and may be maintained at the maximum of 3.5 feet. And also during review of this project and while I was writing the staff report, I just wanted to point out, as the applicant also knows, I'm going to turn to the floor plan here. Parking or transportation planning has reviewed the new garage, and they will be requiring that the garage door be 8.5 feet wide at a very minimum, and that this parking garage, the 1-car garage, be a minimum of 10.5 feet wide. So those items will have to be clarified as we proceed to design review and before we go into the building department. And that concludes staff's presentation, and Tom Jacobs, the architect, is here to represent the property owner and answer any questions.
Okay, I do have one question for staff. In the parking ordinance, it says parking is prohibited in the front setback, and parking may be allowed in the remaining front yard if it's screened from view by a fence or wall and landscaping. I see a small triangle here, which doesn't screen all of it. Was there discussion regarding that aspect of it? I don't see anything in the staff report on it.
You said parking, Ms. Reardon, you said parking's allowed in the remaining front yard?
If it's screened by a fence or wall and landscaping.
So we considered this landscaping here and this along here as the screening.
What about the wall from the front?
We didn't require anything for that.
Okay, so it's not.
Unless there's something right here. 2-foot high stone-faced CMU.
The 20 inch. 20 inch.
Oh, 20 inch.
Okay,
So
thank
that
you.
considered screening also.
All right. Would you like to state your name for the record and add additional comments?
My name is Tom Jacobs. I'm the architect for the project.
Okay. Do you have anything to add?
No, I don't have anything to add. I think that the screening of the parking is adequate for the project. Screening is a little bit of a double-edged sword because we want to maintain the view of the adjacent neighbor to the north while screening the parking. So the proposed screening would be at the right heights to obscure the parking spot and the additional car that's parked there. But not too high to obscure his view of the ocean. And it would be noted that it would be, if the parking spot were moved over slightly, it would be the same condition. So it's virtually kind of they're really the same project, only this one allows, since the lot is so constrained, for the parking to encroach into the setback.
You brought up an interesting point that my other question I was hoping you would reach on or touch on in your presentation. The modification process is available when there's some site constraint on the property why you can't meet the standards. So in this instance, why can't you meet the 2 covered parking spaces? What kind of site constraint is on the property or a vacant lot? You're taking everything down. Or what kind of site constraint is on your property that you can't meet all the requirements of the provision for the 1 uncovered and 1 covered space. So I'm interested to hear from you on what other design options that you looked at that would conform to the ordinance and what constraint did not allow that to happen.
The intention of the design is to keep the view lines for the adjacent neighbors open, and that is the point of the uncovered parking. So it was really a design decision that was based on the common good and respecting the neighbor's view angles.
Okay, you know, being a designer, that we like the fact that you are working with your neighbors and being sympathetic and being, yeah, that's it, sensitive to their concerns. But I have to uphold the zoning ordinance, and in terms of the findings and in terms of the broader community, we don't protect private views. And so why, I understand, this is, per our code, this is the front setback. Why couldn't it have been flipped, or why? I'm just, part I'm struggling about is, since it's vacant lot and there's no existing encroachments into the interior setbacks, why can't it comply with the zoning requirements?
The ability to get the full program of the client, I think is what we were involved in, trying to work out. And it was just felt that the layout of that open parking spot would be best in that location. And while there's many different solutions to a problem, this is one that we felt was the best, optimized everybody's requirements. So.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay. Sure. Okay, I'd like to open the public hearing. I have one speaker slip from Mac Bakewell. Would you like to come up to the...
Hi.
Good morning.
My name's Mac Bakewell. I live at 126 La Plata. My name's Mac Bakewell. I live at 126 La Plata. I really haven't looked at this project yet. This is the first time I've seen it, but I was just sitting here. I understood that we had a 40% FAR now. This one pencils out to 42. So that's my
Kelly, would you like
my
to...
primary question. I mean, just do the math. You add the square footage and divide by the lot size, and comes out to 42%. So,
Mr. Blakewell?
Bakewell.
Bakewell, okay. So we have a calculation that we use. We take the size of the house and the proposed square footage, and we plug it into a calculation, which is available in our ordinance. And this house is, we try to keep houses below 85%. We try not to let, especially when they're in smaller lots, which this is only a 5,500 square
Right.
feet. So per our calculations, the maximum allowed square footage that would be allowed on this lot, which would be 100% of the FAR, is 2,588 square feet. That would be the maximum that the city would allow. And this
So
house,
what's the FAR percentage there?
that would be 100% of what would be allowed.
Working with an FAR?
46.
46? When did it go up to 46?
It hasn't changed, so maybe there's an issue with the
Well,
way
when
you're...
we read the law a few years ago, it was 40. So.
Okay, so this is, I don't know what you looked at or how we...
Well, I was instrumental in changing the law a few years ago, and I haven't had occasion to
Well, it's
look at it
different for
again.
every
But
house, so it's based on the size of each lot. So.
no, I understand that. And it's a,
So the maximum allowed FAR for this house would be 2,588 square feet and a 46% FAR. And this house is 2,200 square feet.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it's
but
at
by that math,
85%
right.
of the maximum FAR.
yeah. By that calculation, it works. I was under the impression that it was still 40%. Can I get a copy of that?
Sure, I can do that after the hearing.
All right, great. Thank you.
Do you have any other comments?
No,
regarding
that's
that?
it. I'm just, like I say, I haven't really. I mean, I lived there a long time. I used to live across the street at 110 as a renter before I bought 126, and I knew the previous owner, Vern, was. He was an original buyer. He bought that back in like 50. We were buddies, and so I'm familiar with the property, but I'm not. This is my first look at your project, and because I was instrumental in the neighborhood preservation ordinance revision a few years back, I just want to make sure that everybody's working within those guidelines. I've got no other I mean, it's not next door to me, so it's not directly impacting me. I just
Okay, great. Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the staff hearing officer on this item? Seeing no one, have we received any letters or phone calls
I
or
have
emails?
received some, Ms. Reardon, yes, I have received some phone calls. And a couple phone calls, just people asking about the project, and one neighbor here was just concerned about screening and what type of cars would be parking there. And of course, I just let him know that it would be screened, and we don't regulate the type of cars people own.
Okay, great, thank you.
Can I make another comment?
Yes.
When I spoke to staff regarding the application of the setback concerns in the front yard, I was told that the ordinance is slated for review and slated to be modified and changed to change the definition of the front yard, and that is an upcoming process that they felt would remove what is a difficulty and a really kind of onerous interpretation of what the front yard is. The only the front yard could be considered to be created by any wall that's parallel to the front lot line. And so if there were a wall even in the rear yard setback, or basically in the rear of the property that is parallel to the front property line, it would create a front yard. And this is very illogical, because you could have a wall line way to the rear of the property, and anything forward of that would be in the front yard. And so it's my understanding that that ordinance is being considered and reviewed to be rewritten to be more logical. And so that is one of the reasons why, when I spoke to staff, they said that they would be supportive of this modification.
Great, thanks, yes. I'm involved in that new ordinance. It's the NZO, the new zoning ordinance update, and the provisions that they're talking about, it's only at staff level right now. There's been no public vetting of it, no public hearings. It's premature to be using that as a guideline to be reviewing new projects right now. And to also clarify regarding the wall, it's the wall of a main building. So if the building projects out, that's how we define the front yard.
Right. What my understanding would be is that
This is
any wall, should it be even way back here or way back here, could create a front yard, and that seems
and you're
to
correct,
be
because this is actually a front yard here too. The thing is that the ordinance does allow for provisions for parking in the front yard with a fence or a wall or screening. I don't believe this is adequate screening. I really appreciate the fact you're being sympathetic to the neighbors, but in terms of the code, it doesn't meet that requirement. But even greater than that, this is a vacant lot, and I understand it is undersized. It's just over 5,500 square feet, and the required minimum is 7,500 square feet, but you're clearing the site. And I don't see any major site constraints why you can't either provide a two-car garage, or I'm fine with one covered and one uncovered. I know the development pattern in this neighborhood is one-car garages with only one parking space. So you are providing an additional one. I just don't find the justification for allowing the encroachment into the interior setback of the uncovered parking space. I believe there's other reasonable design alternatives that are available. There's no site constraints. The site plan can be altered, and the existing residence is conforming to the setbacks in terms of the interior. I understand that it is in the front setback and it's being pulled back, but I just don't see a basis for the supportability of the mod. So I can't make the findings that are outlined in the staff report. And so given those reasons, and so I deny your request without prejudice, which would allow you to come in with a similar design and not have to wait a whole year. But I can't support the modification. However, my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. If you were to file that appeal, you'd come here at 630 Garden Street and file it here versus up at City Hall. All the other appeal boards get filed at City Hall, so I just want to let you know that you would come here to file it. They also have oversight authority of all my actions, and if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day appeal period. And if either of those would occur, Kelly would contact you. Okay?
So you said you can't support the mod, but there's 2 mods.
Well,
You just
I
don't
can't
either mod?
support, I can support the covered and uncovered parking space,
Okay,
but I can't support the interior setback.
okay.
So,
So you support the mod for having 1 covered and 1 uncovered?
but they wouldn't need the modification for one uncovered
If there wasn't in
and
the
one
front?
covered. Yeah, so if they meet that other provision, they can
Okay.
provide that. So, and in effect, I'm denying both of them.
Okay, got it.
Great, thank you. The next item, we'll move on to the next item. And it's 611 Homecrest Road. The applicant would like to come up. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. Anytime you're ready, Joanna. Joanna, sorry.
It's hard. I know you used to say that. This is 611 Homecrest Road. This lot is currently developed with an existing 1,326 square foot single family residence and 190 square foot attached garage. Here is the 25-foot E1 front setback with a 5-foot slope reduction and a 10-foot E1 interior setback. This residence was constructed in 1959 when the lot was zoned E3 with 6-foot interior and 20-foot front setback. A modification was granted at that time to construct the residence with a reduced front setback of 10 feet, and it is conforming to the E3 interior setback. This project involves additions and alterations in the front and interior setbacks, an upper level entry porch, and I'll go to the next page. So an upper level entry porch is enclosed to create livable space, and that encroaches in the front setback. And then lower level paved walk was enclosed to create new livable space. A portion of a cable rail, which is proposed in the front setback, exceeds 42 inches within the first 10 feet of the front property line. Also proposed is the enclosure of the existing rear deck to create new livable space, which encroaches into the eastern interior setback, but no new windows are proposed. Also proposed are some new windows in the eastern interior western interior setback. They're going to remove a window here, but they're adding a window over here and over here on the upper level. And this window on the upper level is going to increase in height slightly. And also proposed is a new window here in the front setback, so I'll show you in the elevation as well. Let's see. Next page. So let's see. Here's the new window in the front setback. I apologize, we'll go back to the other elevations. So here's the 2 new windows in the western interior setback, and then this window increases in height slightly. Upon review of the archive building plans, it was discovered that the enclosed closet space in the paved walk had not been permitted. Staff recommends the approval of the requested modifications with the findings as outlined in the staff report, with the conditions that the applicant obtain a building permit for the as-built closet area, and that the cable rail section over 42 inches receive a minor exception for a fence height.
So was this area here shown as enclosed on the archive plans, Joanna? Because when I was at the site, it looks like it might have been a walkway too, and that wood was just put in.
I didn't note that area on the archive plans.
Okay.
I can almost guarantee that's on the archive plans. It's 100%.
You want to state your name?
My name's Jim Davis, architect for the project.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that was just my question, just to make sure the full scope of it is. And then the other question, maybe Jim could answer it too, is that I didn't see it in the description, but the existing deck, it's set back slightly, maybe 6 inches, and now it's in line. So is it going to be demolished, rebuilt in line, or is it just going to be extended?
I think that's just a drafting error on our part.
Actually, the intent is to actually have it line up with the exterior wall. My name is Akiko Wade Davis. I'm also an architect for the project. The intention is to increase the deck slightly to line up with that wall, just structurally to make it easier to build, and also work with the new location of the sliding doors we're proposing in that lower bedroom, so there's adequate access. Currently, the location of the railing would impinge on the proposed location of those doors, which we're shifting over towards the west.
So it's about 6 inches off or something? Or?
Approximately,
Yeah,
it's very minor.
Okay. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think we're okay otherwise. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Is it our time to...
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, sorry.
Sure. So just to clarify on the front portion that we're proposing to enclose, it's currently roofed, and so the roof mass will not change. We're just enclosing walls to create a little extra space in a very tight kitchen of the existing home. And on the rear, there is a cantilevered roof portion that extends over the existing deck. So we are proposing essentially to enclose that section. The wall section that is extending out towards within the east setback, there's already a wall section there, so the added wall element is about half of the distance that we're actually proposing to enclose.
Okay.
And in seeing the side, as I'm sure you have, I'm sure you understand the site constraints that we're working with an incredibly steep slope, and the existing house being located where it is, which is already within all of these setbacks that we're trying to work within.
Your other constraint is backing out of the garage.
Absolutely. It's
You noticed that when you got to
I
the site.
parked in front of the garage. I'm like, oh no, now how am I going to leave?
Exactly. Yes. So
But I don't know what you can do to improve that. Is there?
It's difficult. That's actually the one of the other neighbors' they own that.
Oh,
too,
yeah,
so-
it's actually an easement to even access that whole
really?
that whole area. So the road that they're on is actually an easement. It's not a public road.
Okay.
So there's another little difficulty there.
Waiting for it. Okay. How do you spell your name?
It's Akiko. Last name is Wade Davis.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing. I have one public speaker.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, the other way. So the light's on. That way. Good job.
Hi, good morning. My name is Tip Kung with the Warner Group. And actually, our clients, can I see the site plan?
Oh, sorry.
You might want to look at the end
that,
even.
that would help.
Here, you can use this. It needs to stay
All
on the
right.
camera.
So,
Use this right there.
and you are the architect, right? And same as you? Okay. If it could help. The site plan.
Site plan?
No, I'm sorry, the overall map.
Okay, right here.
Okay.
So, I'm sure you know that our client, Dr. Rodo, he lives right here. And his daughter lives right here. And Dr. Rodo also, he bought the road. So this is a private drive.
Right.
And he also owns all the parcel along here. And with the park right here at the end that he put in for his family. So we review the drawings, and when we are fine with what your client tried to do by enclosing the front porch and things like that, because the existing house, our client want to make sure that you, before you do construction, make sure that you talk to them, because it's a very narrow drive, and their kids play here. And they're welcoming the neighbors, your client, but they'll make sure that you tell them about the truck and things like that, so it doesn't disrupt what they have.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's, and if you can send me the information of when you want to start construction, and so I can notify the client today.
Do you have a business card? We can.
Yeah, I'm with the Warner Group.
We can look it up.
Yeah, look at right in Montecito.
Okay, so you support the project, just express concerns regarding truck trips and working with the neighbors.
Right, I know to try to include the kitchen and then the back, which is fine with what your client like to do, to make sure that you respect the road, and
Absolutely.
because it's a private road. So
Okay, great.
thank you.
Mhm. There's no one else in the audience. Have we received any phone calls or other emails? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. I did go out to the site and walked around, and like I said, I tried to back out. And an interesting experience. In regards to the front setback modifications, overall, the most important, I think, type of modification is front setback modifications and what it does to the streetscape and the public setting. It is private property, but as you guys know, as architects, it's important how it relates to the neighborhood. In your instance, the larger, which is still small, but the larger increase, it's below grade. You can't see it from the street, so a person walking down is not going to notice it, and so that it is an appropriate improvement, something that's supportable. In terms of the front entry modification, to expand the kitchen slightly, again, I think that is an appropriate improvement. It's in line with the existing house. Like you said, it's an existing cupboard area that they're just adding walls in to enclose. It's not going to significantly intensify the use in the front yard. In regards to the interior setback on this side of the property, like you said, I noticed at the site visit that there's mostly a wall here, and you're extending it with a wall, and it's a uniform extension of this wall. There's no proposed windows. It too won't cause any impacts to your neighbor, and your site is significantly sloped. In regards to the windows, the first and second floor windows, the site next to it's vacant. It is a property that can be developed. Whether it will be developed, because it has a lot of constraints too, it's hard to know. Right. But since the windows, they are proposed in a garage, it's not a high-use type thing. So if it was to be developed, I don't see a significant impact to your adjacent neighbors. And then this deck, we should make sure that it's clear that this deck to extend the line out is appropriate. Is included. And typically, I don't support decks in the interior setback, just because of just the privacy and the nuisance type issue. Mm-hmm. In your instance, it already is in the setback, and just the minor, it's less than a foot. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It might be closer to a foot than 6 inches, but that increase isn't going to significantly change the relationship between the neighboring property. So I think that part of the project is supportable. So those are the areas. So I can make this findings outlined in the staff report. I will add in finding 2 that relates to the interior setback, just to make sure that the deck extension it's clear that that's included, so later on it doesn't get confused.
Okay.
You saw the 2 conditions that were included in there, in your support of them. I don't believe I need to add any additional conditions, so I can make the findings outlined in the staff report as I changed them regarding the deck, and approve the project subject to the 2 conditions that are included in the staff report. And my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days, and they have oversight authority of all my actions, and if they felt it warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day review period, and if that was to occur, Joanna would contact you.
Okay, great.
Okay?
Thank
Great.
you very much.
Thanks. Sure. I adjourn the meeting.
It's no good in